I think this gets really, I'll just add one last piece. This gets really interesting from a recruiting perspective. So, you know, our goal is to always be very inclusive when we recruit. But what's really interesting is that, you know, if you think about gender, like how women apply for roles, or when women feel like they should apply for roles versus when men feel like they should apply for roles, are really, really different. There's data that just shows that men will take a look at a job announcement or a job requisition, say, you know what, I kind of like meet like 40% of those requirements. I'm going to go ahead and apply. And so many women, and I think this is also a cultural thing, I don't think it's just a gender thing, but so many people will take a look at an entire job requirement, like, you know what, I only meet about 80% of this. I don't think I would get the job. I wouldn't even think I'd get an interview. And when it comes to, like, what I try and coach my team is, when you know your audience, you know who you're trying to recruit, just know that your approach is going to have to be different and you're going to modulate accordingly. So when it comes to us trying to get more women engineers on the team, we have to actually recruit and encourage, because many of them are looking at a job rec and saying, you know what, I don't think I'm going to apply. And then I see some engineering managers saying, God, you know what, she's really good, but she basically thought that she shouldn't apply. And it's like, well, maybe that's on you, right? And how you're communicating and how you're reaching out because of your audience and of your recruiting target, basically. So that's kind of an interesting example that I run into.
I think that is a really interesting example, because it's flipping the agency, because we've done a couple different events where we've dove into some of the statistics around women more often self-selecting, especially around like if your job applications have more gendered language, like more masculine gendered language, it sort of turns away candidates. And for the same reason of, like, if you have extra job requirements or responsibilities there that are sort of extraneous to the role, like, more often to self-select out of that process. So we've done a lot of work around like adjusting language and adjusting, you know, the recs and scope of your job, but not about like the concept of like the you know, user empathy of like walking through what's that person they thinking about when they're going through that job application process. And if you actively provide that encouragement, that's going to change that person's success and relationship in the role. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and then the encouragement isn't because that job is guaranteed to that person. It's an encouragement to say, hey, you should take a look at it too. And they encourage you as a hiring manager to take a look at it too. Now, you still have to go through the process, and we're still going to pick the best candidate. But my gosh, like, just because you feel like you don't, you know, meet all of these requirements, that is not the reason you shouldn't apply. Yeah, it's a way of going. It's a different approach, and you have to have kind of an integrated marketing approach to this. We use Textio at Cisco to kind of make our job recs more inclusive. I think that there are other like tools that have just come out of the inclusive language space or inclusive naming space, like Get Woke, for instance, that can also be used for these, which is good too. But you have to do especially if you're doing, whether it's from sales and you're trying to like do the growth marketing thing, or you're trying to associate like anything in your funnel to actually a deal closed, or if you're actually trying to target and recruit, I mean, you have to do more than the written word.